Excellent, and welcome to the TADSummit Innovators. I am really excited to have Paul Walsh here. We've been in communication for so long. We've worked in similar companies, but it's really great to have you here, Paul.
Cheers, thanks. It's great to be here. And Johnny.
Excellent. So, Johnny, do you want to give a quick update on what we've got coming up this week?
Yeah, I want to keep it short because I'm more excited than anybody to talk to Paul. And as an Irishman, so as you know, my CEO, Rick Joyce is the head of cybersecurity for the U.S. Coast Guard, head of cybersecurity, who's also top telecom attorney in D.C. And his conversations were always, this is not cybersecurity. These are telco guys. They don't get it, because he was just blown away by the whole way. When we tried to buy the campaign register, he's like, what do you mean? They can't own this. They can't do this, because he comes from the cybersecurity background, a la Paul Walsh, which are really the guys that need to be fixing these things, not telco guys that are just looking to ring the register. No traffic is bad traffic is the motto in CPAD and aggregation, because all they care about is ringing the register. So I'm really excited about Paul, because we're going to be talking about, this week, Twilio, Cineverse. Why did Twilio give Cineverse $750 million? Well, so they can spam away. Point blank. Because if you go type into Google Bard or GPT, why did Twilio give $750 million to Cineverse? It'll tell you. No reason to benefit Twilio. So I love this AI thing. And number two, look, Jeff Lawson, he pulled out of it. I mean, today he got an activist investor firm, as we spoke about last week. I cannot believe he bent over to activist investors with $100 million. And you know what? He came back today. So Jim Craner, Goldman Sachs guy, Mickelson, former guy from Goldman Sachs. These are heavy hitters coming in. And basically, Jeff went to the well. So I couldn't believe he bent over the way he did. And you know what? He who runs away lives to fight another day. So good kudos for Jeff Lawson smacking these little guys around. So we'll get into that. But look, let's get into this, because
exactly,
I've been waiting for this.
Great. Thanks so much, Johnny. So, Paul, please introduce yourself and all the cool stuff that you are doing with MetaCert.
I'll give a very quick kind of introduction from a background perspective, because I think it's important when it comes to this particular problem that we're going to talk about.
Exactly.
So I started working with internet-based technology at AOL back in the mid-90s, and was the global test manager that helped to launch AOL Instant Messenger, and other technologies and clients like 56K modem protocol in the UK. So I got to cut my teeth very early on, but I also got exposed to social engineering on the internet pretty early on, right? So phishing was first discovered on the internet at AOL in 1996, when people impersonated people like me inside chat rooms, email, communities, and instant messenger, right? A link with a message trying to get people to do something they'd rather not do. So it's not new, it's not sophisticated, and it's not really evolving today. It has evolved a little bit a few years ago, but not much. So that's the AOL days. And after that, I pretty much dived into the telco world, and have worked for a number of mobile operators, such as O2 in the UK. I was head of testing for O2 products. So I led all of the testing for the launch of the first MMSC for O2 across the 4 countries. I believe they shared one between Ireland and the Netherlands. So the Ireland, Netherlands, Germany, and the UK, I helped to launch the MMSCs, all of the systems, all the billing systems, WAP gateways, Java games platforms, and then also all of the SMS-based systems for TV, right? For Big Brother, all those shows. So my team led all the testing for the launch of all those for the first time. And I also founded a telco testing company around 2001 called Sagala. And it was the first test house to join the GSMA. And I don't mind saying this, because I'm quite proud of it. And that the GSMA were so impressed by Sagala that they were going to create a new category specifically for us if we didn't fulfill the requirements for the categories they had at the time. And so we were like on the preferred supplier list for a number of mobile operators, right? We helped with the likes of Tesco, their MVNO, Disney, and a lot of deep and wide telco stuff. And then in Ireland at Aircell, I helped to centralize all of their IT processes prior to the acquisition. by Vodafone, and I implemented procurement selection and procurement management processes at Vodafone, or what became Vodafone. I also led the testing of their infrastructure to make sure performance was high. I worked at ADC Metrica on network performance management software, and then was seconded to the likes of Turkcell in Turkey to help with theirs, and ADC NewNet. I worked at Orange in the UK. So I've worked for a lot of different mobile operators across the board, right? So I get it. I can empathize with what goes on inside an operator from an internal perspective, but also when engaging with vendors. And so MetaCert is a spin out, actually. It's a technology spin out of that company, Sagala, because at the time I wasn't sure how we could scale a service-based business. And lo and behold, we're here with MetaCert. It's about 12 years old. It's venture-backed, 3 angel networks. We've got investors like the founder of Travelocity and Kayak, the founding team of QIK, which was Skype's biggest ever acquisition that was embedded on Samsung as the default mobile video. So their first investors, as well as pretty much the entire founding team, are investors in MetaCert, the founders of Pay by Phone, and a bunch of other companies. So entrepreneurs, VCs, angel networks, family foundations, and so on. And MetaCert was founded in around 2010, and primarily actually to focus on protecting kids from adult content on smartphones and tablets. So we built the first ever URL-based security service for mobile device OEMs. So we're a data company, an API play. Our website never really told the true story because all of our work is kind of behind closed doors almost. So we started with mobile device OEM security. And unfortunately, after about 2 years, the 2 biggest players, Apple and Samsung, actually decided not to do anything after we were chosen as the preferred supplier. And we were like, okay, the market's not big enough for this, so let's pivot onto mobile app security, right? So we raised a bit more capital for that. So we built the first ever security service for mobile apps, because back then I predicted that the web view would become problematic. Back then, most people didn't even know what a web view was. But today now, of course, pretty much every app, when you click a link, it opens inside the app web view instead of the native browser.
Exactly.
And so, so we built for that, and we got integrations with a lot of app making platforms. And 90% of app developers wanted to protect their customers and end users from malware and phishing and pornography. Yeah. But app churn was so high, it just plateaued. And we were like, there's no business in this, and we're not protecting enough people. So we decided then to file some patents. So right now, if you think of a major tech company or a major security company, chances are they've licensed MetaCert's my patents for mobile app security. If you want to look up a link inside a mobile application for any reason, a URI, whether it's a link to a web resource like a web page or a deep link from Twitter to Facebook, if you want to look up that link for any reason, like advertising, misinformation, disinformation, pornography, gambling, malware, phishing, MetaCert owns the patents for all of those, including identity. So if you wanted to provide, let's say, a little shield inside a mobile application web view to indicate that that has been verified, we own the patents for all that too. So they're licensed to 270 of the world's biggest security companies and tech companies, so they can do mobile app security. So that should validate the significance of us being early, right? Because we've been too early too many times, right? So then we were like, okay, this is not big enough. What are we going to do? Let's focus on the vertical of messaging and what was becoming team collaboration, right? So it was pre-Slack and it was HipChat. So HipChat was an Atlassian solution. It did the same stuff as Slack, right? It was team collaboration with chat. It had integrations, right? Which later became called chatbots. So MetaCert built the first ever security service for pretty much every team collaboration platform and messaging service. In fact, Microsoft opened their APIs for Skype after the team came to me and asked for some product innovation advice. And my advice was to open up with APIs. So you're seeing the cascading effect now. So in 2015, we predicted they would all open up with APIs. So we were the first security company in the world to build security services, but we were also one of the first companies in the world to build any kind of chatbots for conversational interfaces. That started in 2015. So we started with HipChat, we built for Slack, we built for Skype, Messenger, Microsoft and Cisco asked us to build for their platforms, but we didn't have the time. We just wanted to go deep on these other platforms. And they were very simple, right? So on Slack, what would happen was it would detect a dangerous link inside the message, then it would delete the message, ban the person who sent it, and then send a direct message to the administrator to explain what happened. And then we also provide fancy analytics that Slack didn't even provide, because the API that they exposed gave us that information. So we ended up going into the crypto world in 2017 because a bunch of companies came to us and said, hey, we have this problem. And we were about to execute a go-to-market strategy with 800 customers that were using our security service, but we didn't know if they actually enjoyed it and whether they'd be willing to pay for it, right? So, I mean, a lot of big companies. And then the crypto companies came to us and said, we have this problem. So I joined a few communities, and lo and behold, every 10 minutes, because a Slack bot reminder was set up to do this, and send SMS or phishing scams inside Slack across thousands of communities around the world. So it was a pandemic of phishing on Slack in 2017. Yeah. So we looked at it and thought, okay, let's do this, because this is much more appealing than a compliance tick box for big companies who don't know if they're being protected or not. Yeah. Pardon me. So we said to the crypto companies, okay, when we get product market fit for you, you can pay, but it's free until then, because we didn't know at that time that adversaries would use direct messages and the incoming webhook API. Yeah. So it took us 3 months. And during that 3-month period, and this is very important actually from a educational perspective when it comes to phishing, social engineering. Yeah. At that time, many of the biggest secure crypto companies were starting to talk about moving from Slack to Discord and Telegram because Slack was not safe. And our message was, none of them are safe when it comes to phishing. The threat actors will go to whichever channel has enough people and wealth to steal from them. We're going to turn Slack from the least secure place to the safest place. So some of them started to migrate. Yeah. But by the time we got product market fit, we killed it on Slack. It literally went from a pandemic to zero. Every single crypto company on Slack pretty much installed MetaCert. And we didn't stop it because we detected dangerous links. We stopped it because we built a community of about 6,000 or 7,000 people, in addition to our proprietary tools, that they would either report links or we'd find them. But after there was a victim, right? There's always a victim that reports a link and then you protect everybody else. That's how internet security has always worked, right? That's what we've always done, detect dangerous things. Yeah, that's the one thing that MetaCert doesn't do anymore, which we'll come to. And we learned this the hard way by being a traditional threat intelligence company. Because in the security world, there's a category of vendors called threat intelligence. MetaCert is in there with companies like Google and Akamai and VirusTotal and all the other thousands of security companies around the world that build security products and services. They come to us and they license these threat feeds. And the more threat feeds they license, in theory, the better the solution is. Yeah. But you might imagine MetaCert has a database of links that Google doesn't have. Google has links that we don't have. And the same can be said for all the other vendors in that space. And unfortunately, this AI is celebrating the fact that we are doing such a good job.
It was actually pretty cool.
It was good timing. So, on Slack, here's what would happen. We would have about 7,000 people reporting links. And then in a private Slack group, we would have professionals from companies like Cisco and Proofpoint and Microsoft who would validate those, because that's what cybersecurity people do. Threat intelligence researchers are extraordinarily collaborative, very helpful. And yeah, we work together in harmony. We're competitors, but we work together and we share intelligence behind closed doors. And so that's what they did. And what happened was, as soon as a URL that was dangerous and reported and investigated and classified, right? Because when you report a link, it doesn't get classified and blocked like people think. On average, it takes 2 days because we've got so many to go through, right? Because we can't assume anything. Because they're either going to be suspicious but not dangerous, people submitting links that belong to their competitors, or threat actors trying to flood the gates because they know that this is how it works, right? It's silly. So then when we eventually classify it, whether it's 10 seconds later or 10 minutes or 10 hours, then And only then would we see all the messages be deleted across the world of communities on Slack.
Yeah.
So what we did was we made it cost prohibitive for threat actors, right? So we didn't make it impossible for them to scam somebody. We just made it cost prohibitive. And then all the crypto companies came back and said, Paul, we don't need your security anymore because there's actually literally nothing happening on Slack. So we never got paid. But we got paid in kind by learning. But now what you've seen, right, is the migration to Discord and Telegram.
Yes.
So that's why you're seeing the phishing on Discord, because there's no anti-phishing there at all. We did build a chatbot for Telegram, which protected a few million people across 1,800 communities on Telegram. But we decided to stop supporting that because it was a free service. And when they changed their API, we just thought people don't appreciate it as much as they should. And again, they were all traditional security, right? What we were doing back then for what is it, 7 years, but prior to that, my research and development into URIs is about 10 years. We did the same thing as what every company does today in cybersecurity. We tried to protect people from links that we knew were dangerous.
Yes.
But I said to the team after the Slack debacle, okay, we're the best in the world. We're the fastest at classifying URLs. There's no comparison, right? We win every pitch, but it's not good enough. There's always a victim. It's either a person, and I got to speak to victims firsthand. You don't get to do that very often inside Slack, and that's what pushed me for us to fix that for the crypto world. People who lost $5,000 in Mexico, their entire life savings, or $5 million, right? It doesn't matter to me. It's a person whose kids can't go to college, their family breaks up. It's a CEO who gets fired, or it's a company who has their customer data stolen, or it's a ransomware attack on a hospital, and my mom in Ireland can't get a blood test because the HSC has got because somebody clicked on a link and it led to a terrible outcome, right? It's not the victim's fault. It's not their fault. It's not their problem. It's not the platform's problem. It's the cybersecurity vendor who said, we'll keep you safe. Yeah. That's their problem. It's my problem if I can't keep you safe. It's not your problem if you click on a link. So what I said to the team was, let's try a social experiment. Let's build a browser extension, because my engineers built the formal browser extensions for Dig, Delicious, PayPal, eBay, Yahoo, Google, Microsoft, and Nike, right? All of them pretty much. So very robust, enterprise ready, respected from a privacy perspective, open sourced. And I said, okay, I want a MetaCert shield placed on the toolbar, and we'll get product market fit for the crypto world. We'll only verify websites and downloads and social media accounts that belong to crypto exchanges, wallets, and at the time, what were called ICOs.
Yep.
We'll verify those, and we'll tell people when the shield turns green, you know it's really the website you think it is, but if it turns gray, it's not. Now, we'll block the dangerous ones, right? That's easy. We'll block the dangerous websites that are impersonating the crypto websites. But if it's gray, you know that's a new one that we don't know about and nobody else knows about. So keep away from it. And with about 80,000 traders and investors around the world, not one person ever fell for any deceptive link for any reason, because no matter where you open a link on your computer, it always opens in the browser, and that's where you need that security. And MetaCert is designed for people, not computer systems, right? Social engineering is a psychological problem, not a technical problem. You can never stop it with a technical solution unless it's a technical solution for you to help you decide what to do next. So we thought, that's amazing, this works. So long story, slightly shorter, that then was called Verified by MetaCert. We said, ignore the padlock in your browser, because over 93% of all phishing sites have a padlock now, right? They're issued automatically, free of charge, no checking. And if a website doesn't start with HTTPS, the stupid browser vendors now tell you, don't go there, it's not safe, which is ridiculous. So now threat actors are forced to get an SSL certificate. And I was very active in the Certificate Authority browser forum, as well as the Mozilla security forum. And browser vendors have said to me in public the following: we are happy for consumers to have a conversation with the devil as long as it's in private. Meaning, if the padlock is there, That just means it's encrypted, right? When you type into that website, it just means that somebody else can't intercept that data when it's going to the website server. That's all it means.
Yeah.
But people think it means trust and reputation.
Yes.
Because they've conflated it with the old website verification, because the browser vendors never showed it properly. They never showed the UI properly. They blame the certificate authorities, but all they do is verify the identity. It's up to the browser vendor to do what they want with that certificate. And then they can put a big badge up there. They can put a padlock up there that confuses the hell out of everybody, or they can do something different.
Yeah.
So the browser vendors, what they did was, because nobody knew the difference between encryption and website identity, they removed it from all the UI. So a few years ago. So now today, no browser actually has any UI for website identity, but the certificate authorities are still selling website identity to banks and brands who think it's still adding value, but it's not.
Yeah.
So MetaCert today, then I found out that actually it's not just verified by MetaCert, it's called zero trust. So I did not invent the concept of zero trust. MetaCert did not do that. This is a very established gold standard in cybersecurity that every security company in the world will tell you is the gold standard and the only future. The US government has actually already asserted only a few months ago that all government agencies have to migrate to a zero trust strategy.
Exactly.
But here's the problem. Zero trust has what's called 4 or 5 pillars, depending on how you break it down. Zero trust identity authentication, which the entire world seems to be obsessed about. You're right, authenticating, this really is you, Alan or Johnny, logging into this website because it's a 2FA application. App authentication, mobile device management. Device authentication, I give you a device and you can only use that and install certain apps. And then network data authentication, right? So you can have zero trust for everything. Except for URLs and web access, right? So you can have a computer that's locked down to certain software with a VPN, with the best 2FA in the world, and you click a link inside your browser and you lose your 2FA, because what most people don't seem to realize, because nobody talks about it enough, is that app-based 2FA is just as weak as SMS-based 2FA and has been for a long time. It's not that it's a new thing, according to what Microsoft is now saying, and Cisco and other companies. No, this has been years, right? Dating back at least 7 years. Here's what happens, right? In smart phishing and all targeted attacks. Like, for example, let's pick an example, and we're diving into now everything else, I guess, right? But you can stop me at any time. Last year, 2022, over 150 companies were breached for the first time at scale with SMS as the preferred channel. It's an emerging channel, right? There's nothing new or sophisticated happening here. It just happens to be a new channel that people haven't been used to, because it really only started since the pandemic convinced everybody to stay at home and wait for parcel deliveries. Threat actors were like, people are waiting for parcel deliveries on their phone. Let's impersonate them. And then they were like, holy crap, there's no security on SMS. Because this is what my adversaries do, right? If I want to broadcast, or if I want to target somebody in the US, let's say they're on Verizon, I've got a Verizon SIM card, prepaid, regular phone. I send myself a message. And if for some bizarre reason they can stop it and it doesn't come, I'll just send myself another one, right? And it's like, I've just now tested the security posture of every single subscriber on the Verizon network. So for every country, I only need 1 to 5 SIM cards, really, because even the MVNOs sit on top of the MNOs, right? If they don't have their own infrastructure. So now I can test the security posture of the entire country of the US, of over 320 million subscribers. And each person is not just a mobile subscriber, as the telco industry likes to talk about. They're also employees in municipalities, hospitals, government agencies, corporate espionage, right? So last year, 2022, the 150 companies, guess who was breached in those? Twilio, Okta, Microsoft, Cisco, right? Companies with the best training in the world, the best tools in the world, and the best of everything. Microsoft generates over 20 billion a year from cybersecurity alone, right? Yet, here's what happened. Their own employees got an SMS message that impersonated their own single sign-on login text alert.
Yeah.
The link impersonated their own Okta login. They opened it. The web page, the login impersonated their own, right?
Yeah.
It then bypassed their own 2FA apps.
Mm-hmm.
Only one company gave up their username and password, but didn't have their network breached. And that was Cloudflare. And that's because their employees were protected with FIDO keys. So there was no code to go to the website, and the threat actor at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all very well and good focusing on identity authentication. But what we need to be doing is making sure we authenticate the website that person is actually trying to log into.
Exactly.
Right. Because I'll steal your details and now I'm on the inside with your authorized credentials.
Yep.
So that's what happened with those 150 companies. So if Cisco, a cybersecurity company and telecommunications vendor, and one of the biggest on the planet, with the best training, with the best identity authentication and zero trust approach, if they can't stop their own company from being breached with SMS phishing, then why on earth are we talking about how consumers can protect themselves? It's absolutely preposterous. Exactly. And operators, how can we expect operators to do anything if the cybersecurity vendors can't do anything, right? We need to stop talking about the victims, unless, of course, they're not paying attention and investing, right? Yeah. Which they couldn't have until right now, because no security company in the world is even offering a solution to mobile operators, a network-based solution, right? Yeah. Why is that? It's not like the last 4 times of MetaCert where it took 2 to 3 years to catch up. We've already caught up from 2019.
Yep.
And in addition to that, it's obvious that SMS is a problem, right?
Yep.
If you look at regulation in let's say Malaysia, all 4 operators now have to block every single SMS message that contains any kind of link for any reason, or any banking information, or any possible whatever, right? So one of the vendors in Malaysia responsible for helping the operator do that reached out to us and actually said, and I won't name them for privacy reasons, said, due to the archaic regulation in Malaysia, we are forced to block, but we're not able to stop phishing. Can you help us? So even the vendors that are being hired to do it are starting to realize now, finally, that they're not security companies. And even if they were, they wouldn't be able to detect any signs of danger. That's why traditional security companies haven't come to the forefront, I think, because if somebody like Proofpoint says, it's okay, Paul, as they do with their cocky selves, and I don't mind naming them because they are cocky, I'll say, oh, really? Let's say Johnny's working for Proofpoint. I'll send myself a message first, right? Yep, got it. Now I know you won't stop it. I'll send it to Johnny, who works for Proofpoint, and say, did you get that? Yeah, how did that make you feel? Oh, by the way, I just sent you another 1,000. Did you get those? Yeah, I got all 1,000. Okay, I'll wait another few minutes and I'll send them again, and then I'll do it again, and I'll do it again for another 2 weeks, and you'll keep getting them and getting them. That's the problem. So I just have to stop at some point. You need to actually interject and get me to stop. But what MetaCert has now...
I'm going to stop. So
thank you.
Proofpoint. So basically, Proofpoint, when we first tried to acquire the campaign registry, et cetera, campaign registry did a survey. A company called GTC Global, they hired them to do this survey, asking AT&T what they thought, Bandwidth what they thought, Verizon what they thought, T-Mobile what they thought. And one of the things that came up, and this hasn't been put out in the market for some reason, but I'll go from there. They brought up Proofpoint. Well, Proofpoint can be the registry. We could set up a different registry of Proofpoint, but they never did that. So my correlation is Proofpoint wants nothing to do with the SMS in the USA.
They won't, because because it means that their email security will be shown to be defunct, right?
Yep.
We all know that they failed.
AT&T basically, and I'll share that with you privately.
Okay, so here's the problem with that, right? Here's the holistic problem, then I'll tell you the technical problem. The holistic problem is this. People in the telco world, including me when I was in the telco world, don't understand cybersecurity. They don't have the skills or the experience. They're they have cybersecurity professionals who are amazing at their jobs, right? Of course they are, but they rely on cybersecurity vendors for things like anti-phishing. And then in the cybersecurity world, they don't get telecommunications and SMS as a channel because they haven't looked at it. Or if they have, they don't want to be coming out with their traditional security because they know it won't work. And so what we have is this terrible situation where SMS firewalls are being perceived as security products and services, right? SMS firewalls shouldn't be called firewalls in this context because they're there to protect the infrastructure and revenue for mobile operators, right? So here's what happens for people.
They're there to collect revenue.
You guys know this. So this is what happens for your audience, right? So because I'm putting together the intersection of my experience and expertise of telco, SMS infrastructure, social engineering, cybersecurity, and URL categorization, and the human behavior of all of it, right? I literally live at the intersection of everything that's happening with SMS. So here's what's happening. Twilio revolutionized and disrupted the telco world by introducing the concept of allowing brands and businesses to set up marketing campaigns and text alerts because operators didn't have the ability, right? They didn't have the ability to provide APIs. And so they did that. And then we now have companies like Uber and banks that will set up marketing campaigns and text alerts using applications that are built with APIs like those provided by Twilio. And they're able to send huge amounts of text messages at very low cost for their customers. So a dental practice might Google search and look for cheap marketing campaigns. And they will choose either Twilio, which might be more expensive, or they'll choose a cheaper service. So it's like choosing the difference between MailChimp and somebody else, right? MailChimp, if you don't include an opt-out for a subscription in the footer, MailChimp inserts it automatically because they don't want their IP addresses blacklisted or graylisted. And therefore, there's better delivery for their emails. If you use a cheaper service that doesn't care about that stuff, their IP addresses won't be so trusted, and then you kind of hit and miss as to whether your messages get through. From a client perspective, some will know and they won't care because they want to spam, and some will care and they'll just go for the cheaper option because they can't afford the most expensive one. And so that leaves operators in a great position because now they're getting huge amounts of revenue from all the SMS traffic. Every message that Twilio sends on behalf of a company like Uber or a bank, they charge that company something like 0.0079 cent or whatever it is, right? And then every company that's involved in the sending or receiving of that message gets a fraction of a penny. Now, what most people don't realize is that SMS and email should be considered the same thing, right? With email, people think, oh yeah, MailChimp, they're not going to read my email. There's security, there's anti-spam, right? Anti-spam and anti-phishing are two different things in email, right? Anti-spam is provided by Microsoft and Google. Nobody expects them to catch phishing, right? They detect signs of patterns, right, associated with the traffic and how it's coming in and words and so on, and sender ID. With phishing, it's different. That's why there's a category of vendors. With SMS, there are more people involved. When I send a message to you, Alan, what people don't realize is there's a lot of companies involved before you get that message. There's aggregators, there's brokers, they're brokers, they're middlemen. Some of them are trustworthy, some of them are not. Some of them will take bulk messages and send them on to make it look like it comes from a different place to make them delivered at a cheaper rate and all that stuff, right? So the operators are then losing huge amounts of revenue because spammers are sending huge amounts of messages, but not paying for the delivery charge, right? Because even if you and I have free texting because we've unlimited data, our two operators still have an agreement to pay each other to deliver the messages, right? And sometimes it cancels out. Sometimes they charge more based on who the operator is and so on. Right?
The USA works a little bit different, Paul. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited.
It's more simple.
To go with you. And we got to bring him back, Alan. And we got to get Paul reading messaging monopolies.
So that's the worst of it, right?
We need to take you like a day off. Because look, our call to action is stop spamming grandma. I don't care.
Right, exactly.
But also stop robocalling grandma. So do your solutions stop robocalls?
No. We only do messages with links, and I'll come on to that very specifically. So here's the difference. So what the operators needed then was, hey, everyone, we need to protect our infrastructure from delivering messages that we're not actually getting paid for. And also we need to make sure that we only get messages that we're going to get paid for. So SMS firewalls were invented,
Exactly.
right, for operators to protect them from that inbound traffic. Then the pandemic hit and phishing became a prevalent issue. And then all the firewall vendors with no cybersecurity experience or expertise, I mean, zero, because I've had calls with many of them, and they have in fact, they don't know what they don't know. And it's embarrassing. And I've told them on the calls they need to stop because they're putting people in danger. They've shown me their screens. They've shown me what they use to try and detect links, not whether they're dangerous or not, but just detect whether a message has a link.
Yeah.
They can't even do that properly, right? So SMS firewalls now are almost forced to say, yeah, we also protect subscribers from phishing, even though they don't, right? Because trying to detect the patterns associated with messages that come from applications or from SIM cards or SIM banks, firewalls should be able to do that, but they don't do it very well. Because of our security, we assume that they were doing a good job of that, but they're actually not.
No.
It's actually appalling. So what's happened is the firewall vendors are purporting to do it, but now they're starting to realize they can't. So now they're coming back to MetaCert saying, all right, we can't do it. Can we help you? Because if you look at Infobip and Cinch in Australia, the regulator has told them, you're going to get sued. Now, for me, it's silly, but it's good. It's silly because nobody says to MailChimp, you're going to be sued for not protecting people, right? That's why it's really stupid. But Cinch and Infobip are saying they're protecting people. MailChimp isn't, right? No. But these companies are saying, we'll protect you. Therefore, they should be sued because they can't protect people. And I know they can't because
they paid a fine. I believe they paid fines over there.
Yeah, and there's others now also being fined. So the firewall vendors are being fined, and they should be.
We're going to be doing some pieces on the economics of artificially inflated traffic and how the operators are basically using these vendors to basically get payments up front, guaranteed payment, and then they sub it out. So there's a whole business economics that is a reason why a lot of these firewall exist, but they don't really work, right?
No, so they don't work for. They don't.
But as much as you work with the carriers, don't think they're all innocent. A lot of these carriers in a lot of countries are interested in taking their termination rate per message from 3 cents to 5 cents to 7 cents to 8 cents. And a lot of these firewall vendors have to come in there and basically put up the upfront money to the operators. So there's a race to zero being a mobile operator. Their market caps. I mean, you look at the 3 operators in the U.S., their market cap's under 400 million, right? Just Google and Apple alone are 4.2 trillion.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So my point being is there's a race to zero, and that's what the operators are doing in the U.S. because now they're charging a half cent for every registered message in the U.S. and a penny for every spam likely message. And this happened a couple of years ago. So this is where we intersect. And this has been great. And I got a ton of stuff for you, Paul, because that's where we're heading next. After the Swifties come and start screaming at the mobile operators, because my problem in the U.S. is the mobile operators. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's their responsibility. And they're making money. And they set up the campaign registry knowing it doesn't even work. Why? So they can monetize P2P. So they can call a person who has a business line and go to a UCAS company saying, go register the campaign registry, go pay them because you're now A2P. So they've taken P2P and they've separated it and they're making billions of dollars. So I have a request from you, and I'm going to send you some stuff, Paul, because we got to have you back. But we got to have you back on Truth and Telecoms. Are you in?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We got to get this guy back. I got to go dig in and do some homework. So we got to get into Truth and Telecoms. And amazing competition, amazing company.
So the other challenge then is what's been introduced and a proposed solution by MEF, which I cannot endorse.
Don't get me started. MEF has Kalera on their board, right?
Well, MEF, they've got 2 board seats.
They're a book club. Go watch our videos. We just drew a line in the sand. The Cloud Communication Association in the United States just supported us and backed us. The MES has Kalera on their board. They're on their board. Okay, Kalera. They frame people. So much stuff going on, and now it's Tata. The MEF wants to do a think tank, or what do they call it? A focus group? No, what is it? What do they call it? What's the term?
I don't know, but I've had calls
Alan,
with...
I'm asking you. A code of conduct.
Code of conduct. That's right. Well, I was copying what I was asking.
Listen, they're a circus, right? So if you go look at the viewership and the attention that we're getting, I'll send you a video. They have 50 views. We have thousands of views because we tell the truth. You pay MEF, they'll say whatever you want them to say. They're not going to tell the truth. Why is Alan Quayle the most important person in telecom right now? Because he's telling the truth where nobody else will. Everybody's on the take. Paul, we need to get you back. If we run this podcast too long, nobody's going to listen to the whole thing.
Exactly.
So we found out that there's like a 30-minute sweet spot. If we take you to 40, nobody's going to listen to you. And people, you need to listen to Paul. And we're going to bring Paul back on Truth and Telecoms and light it up.
Well,
just to wrap up, because I do want to wrap up on some important points you've raised.
You wrap it up. Talk.
Okay.
I'm excited.
So the firewalls print. Oh, go for it. Go for it, Johnny.
No, I don't got to go. I'm done.
Okay.
Can I just mention one thing that might get their attention? Okay, so because I didn't want to go into huge detail about MetaCert's product, right? But what's important is the first mobile operator in Europe has MetaCert Zero Trust implemented on the live network, sending us live traffic. It works like a kill switch because what happens is every message that contains a link gets checked by MetaCert.
Yeah.
If the link is in our database as verified, pass the message on and don't do anything. If the link is classified as dangerous, replace that link in the text message with an mct.link URL, send the message on. So when the customer gets it, they get the message, they get the link, they click on the link and it brings them to a caution page.
Exactly.
If the link in the message, and here's the magic bit, right? Because that bit is easy. If the link is not known to us, if it's not in the database, we replace that link with an MCT link. And then they open it and they see that it failed to authenticate. And if it's for an important website that requires a login or download, they know to avoid it. And if it's like their grandmother's favorite DJ website, then they can go there anyway, right? Exactly. So the first operator is going to go live with that in the new year. And that's going to lead to a domino effect of two things. One, all the other operators that we've got in the pipeline will have no choice but to do it the same thing because it's an electric car that just stops it from crashing. Exactly. And then we're going to offer free of charge. We're going to update all those security services with anti-spam because that's the easy bit. And we'll do it GPT enabled, so we'll do a good job of it and do that free of charge. We're going
to be your biggest screamers. This is our main message. Don't spam grandma. Don't spam. Stop it. Yeah. There's hundreds of billions of texts a year going on in the USA. It's an epidemic here, Paul.
Correct.
I know. It is everywhere.
We're going to be screaming. So you went live with an operator right now.
We're live on it. We're on the live network with live traffic. It works like a kill switch.
So come the first of the year, Al and I can start screaming, we got a solution.
Well, you can say it now that we have something that's on a live network, but we can't say who it is. But in the new year, they themselves are going to start telling their customers what's forthcoming. So very soon, it'll be made aware who this company is, and they're going to be seen as an incredibly innovative operator who protects every subscriber. By the way, it also protects outbound traffic as well. So it means that their SIM cards will never be used to broadcast spam, never mind phishing as well. Right? So it protects both inbound and outbound.
Great.
Wow.
But
we found the solution.
Every message gets delivered,
Alan,
and we just replace the link, right? Because we deliver every message, just replacing the link, the dangerous bit, it means that everybody wins. Everyone gets paid for the message, the subscriber gets protected, the operator's protected, the brand is protected because only their links will be authenticated. Exactly. Only the banks and brands, and they can come to us and get their addresses verified free of charge, right? We don't charge for that.
Exactly, yeah.
MEF is charging thousands for something that doesn't work because my adversaries don't use A2P. They use SIM banks or regular SIM cards and regular phones.
Is a book club. What do you mean? It's an association. They put on parties for people.
I don't want to put them down too much. I'm not putting them down. I'm just what's going wrong.
Why are we talking about them? Is there any kind of solution for anything anywhere?
No.
All they are is a platform for companies to go talk to each other, and they have like forums.
The
And
only reason I'm bringing it up,
pay,
Johnny,
as long as you pay,
the
you're
only
there.
reason I'm bringing it up is because countries like Australia are looking at it saying, oh, sender ID verification works in the UK and Ireland. Let's adopt that. And I'm like pulling my hair out saying, no, it
doesn't
doesn't.
work. It's
Stop saying it works. So they're getting people to implement this. And the reason I'm so bullish and so passionate about it is because the end customer, the subscriber, the mobile user is not going to be protected for another few years because they have to wait for that to be rolled out. Then they'll test it and be like, yeah, that doesn't work so well.
Go do your homework on the stuff that we put together. You're going to be shocked.